Hey, Aubrey, how's it going?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm tired. I only
Ooh,
slept for
yeah.
like 3 hours last night. I just couldn't sleep.
Insomnia. Yeah, that'll get you,
Ugh.
right? And then you're just sluggish all day. That's the worst.
Trying to like focus with little sleep, it's tricky. But luckily, this almost never happens to me. So like it's fine. But you deal with insomnia like all the
Every
time.
night. Yeah, pretty much
Oh,
every night I wake up like stressed out about one of my kids or something. And it's just once your mind gets going, it's just so hard to fall back to sleep. And I
so
have to
hard.
anymore. I'm like, I cannot have my phone next to the bed or forget it. I'm gonna like
Yeah,
check my phone and then I'm scroll
totally.
whatever, and then you're up for hours. So if I can force myself to not look at my phone,
Yeah,
at
that
least
helps a
usually I can get
lot.
back to sleep like an hour later. Oof,
For
it's tough.
sure. Yeah. But guys, we are here to help you with IELTS stress. So we got a question from a Spotify listener, actually. And it is about speaking part three. So, guys, you don't have to stay awake at night stressing about IELTS speaking because we are going to clear this all up for you today. Aubrey, can you read the question, please?
Yes, this is from Istiana. Shout out to you. And it says, Hi, I hope this email finds you well. I have been listening to your podcast for years and found that your strategies are beneficial.
Awesome.
However, I also found a tip from a local teacher in my country, Indonesia,
Hmm.
which said that in speaking part three, you need to at least speak for 1 minute long per question.
Hmm.
Honestly, I don't feel that the strategy is quite reliable since I have no clue which component will be affected to boost our score. Could you help me to clarify this tip?
That is such an excellent question. Before we answer that, though, I want to remind you guys that I recently did an episode with Maria and Rory from IELTS Speaking for Success. Another awesome IELTS podcast. Go back, guys, scroll back to episode 1308 of this podcast because they share three things never to say on IELTS speaking, like trying to put in too many idioms or just saying people all the time. Definitely go back and listen to that episode for more speaking advice, guys. So much gold in there. But let's get to this. This is very specific about speaking part three. So, Aubrey, what do you think about this teacher's advice? Should we like, do you think students should be required or really focus on that tip like they have to speak for a minute?
That's really the key, right? Is how much are you focusing on how long your answers are, right? We do recommend speaking for about a minute
Mhm.
in our course, Three Keys IELTS, but the problem is if you're so focused on how long your answers are and how much you're speaking,
Yeah.
how do you have any more brain space to be actually adding new details and making sure
Right.
your answers are good, right? So think about what are you focusing on, right?
Yeah.
Every answer is going to be different. It really depends on how much you have to
Yeah.
say if you're going to really fill a full minute every time.
Exactly. And that advice like you have to speak for at least a minute, that'll really throw you off if you are like depending on that as a rule because like you're not going to have tons to say about every single question. That's just not natural. That's not real, right? So some of your
Right.
answers may be a little shorter than a minute, some may be a little longer than a minute. But if you're trying to force yourself to speak for more than a minute at every answer, and like Aubrey said, you're only thinking about that. What about your vocabulary score, your grammar score, your pronunciation score? You're like losing out on those other three categories. And then anytime you force yourself to do something in speaking, it will be unnatural. Like if you force yourself to use great vocab, you're going to be using those words wrong and it's going to sound weird. It's not going to help your score. If you force yourself to speak a lot, you'll end up repeating yourself. You'll stop making sense. It brings down your fluency score. So, yeah, that like hardcore advice, I'm not on board for that.
Right. Especially where we recently talked about how IELTS has sort of updated their timing because the examiner has to ask a certain amount of questions. So in
Mhm.
part three, if they have to cut you off in order to ask another question and you know you haven't spoken for a minute and you're really focusing on all of my answers have to be a minute, I could see that really throwing you off and you start stressing out like, oh, I could have said more. That wasn't a minute, right? You just
Yeah.
can't let yourself be that strict about the timing. If they cut you off, off, it's because they need to get some more questions in. Let them just ask the next question and don't stress so much about the timing. Instead, like you were saying, Jessica, focus on sharing really interesting ideas and interesting vocabulary. Don't repeat yourself. And
Yep.
you're going to have some of your answers be quite a bit longer when you have a lot to
Mhm.
say. Some of them will just be 2 to 3 sentences, and that's okay too.
And we're going to demonstrate this in just a second, guys. We're going to ask each other speaking part 3 questions and actually time our answers so we can actually see how long the different answers will be. We'll see. Who knows? We haven't written these out. We're just going to spontaneously answer just like you do on the real exam. Okay. But before we get to that, guys, one more tip. It is helpful to have some sort of general structure going into speaking part 3 to rely on some general template. And so, in general, guys, just directly give your opinion, directly answer that question right away, support it with a reason, give some details and examples, right? If we need a little bit of structure to help us, and that general structure is a great thing to remember.
Yes, that'll help you keep from rambling, right? Follow that
Mhm.
structure. You'll always have something to say.
All right. So, Aubrey, I'm going to ask you this first question and time your response. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Is handwriting still important?
Absolutely not. I think it's so much more vital for kids to learn to type. I'm actually shocked that none of my children have taken any kind of keyboarding or typing classes as part of their schooling. So they're still tapping out letters one at a time with 2 fingers and typing so slowly. And then they're expected to type these essays for exams that they
Mhm.
can't do. So it doesn't make sense to me that we're not adjusting education to make use of computers more important than handwriting.
And that was 31 seconds. And that was a fantastic Band 9 speaking part 3 answer. Now, of course, we're speaking a little bit faster because we're natives, but still, that was just 31 seconds, guys. And that was a fantastic answer. So, we are just proving to you in real time that not every answer has to be exactly a minute to score highly. So, some great things you did there, Aubrey. You directly gave your opinion right away. You're like, absolutely not. You didn't waste time rephrasing the test question. That's kind of annoying when students do that.
Mm.
It's okay sometimes if you need to buy yourself time to think, but like you got straight to the answer. It was awesome. Nothing was wasted. Some awesome adjectives like vital and shocked. So all the elements of a band 9 were in that answer, even though it was 30 seconds. I mean, that was awesome. All right. Do you
Right.
want to ask me one?
Yes. Is it possible to improve a student's handwriting after years?
Yeah, I mean, of course. Honestly, that's kind of a weird question. I don't, to my mind, this isn't like a part of education that all of a sudden, in let's say high school, teachers are like, oh, time to improve your handwriting. It's terrible. That's not like a class. Um, yeah, we can improve any skill. But I don't think it's necessary these days. We do have to focus on typing skills. I had to take typing class in middle school, and my son has yet to take that, and he does not know how to type, and it is terrible. That is the skill we need. That's what we use, not like calligraphy and handwriting. So, yeah, I mean, you can improve it, but I don't think we have to.
Excellent. And that was a 40-second answer, but like you
Awesome.
said, amazing answer, right? Great vocabulary. Every idea was new. And some strategies I want you guys to notice. That it was kind of a weird question. We did that on purpose. Really, it's like a yes or no answer, and a lot of students, I think, would be like, "Yes," and then it's kind of like, "That's sort of obvious, I don't have more to say." So
Yeah.
notice what Jessica did. She pivoted to answering why she thinks typing is more important than handwriting. She had a lot to say about that, right? So she answered the question. She did this really cool native thing where she said like, "Honestly, I think that's kind of a weird question." Yes, the examiner realizes it's weird too. They don't care. They're not emotionally attached to these questions. They are the
Right.
questions they've
They
been given
write
to
them.
answer or to ask, right? So feel
Exactly.
free to say that, answer it, and then you can go anything just related can go a little bit off, not off topic, but like share something a little different that's
Mhm.
related. And that's how you're getting your interesting details.
Like, we both transitioned into talking about typing more than handwriting, right?
Right.
When it's not like typing wasn't mentioned in the question, but it's definitely related. It's definitely contained in this topic. Yeah, which is, I can't believe your kids haven't had to take typing classes
I know.
either. It's so
It's crazy.
shocking.
And I did. I took
Me
a
too.
keyboarding typing class in, like, I don't know, 6th grade or something when we
Yeah,
didn't
me
even have a
too.
computer at home, and I was still learning to type.
Yeah,
And
no,
I
we
don't
had
know,
to
it's just
learn on like typewriters.
yeah, nice.
Sounds so old.
And now my kids type so slowly. I try to find, like, online resources for them to practice typing. So I'm like,
Yeah.
"You've gotta speed up your typing here," or every single job requires that now.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. All right, guys. So you can leave us a question if you're listening on Spotify, or you can email us support at allearsenglish.com. You can also leave a comment on our videos on IELTS Energy TV on YouTube. We look at all this stuff, guys. So drop us a question wherever you are watching or listening right now. All right, Aubrey, thanks for chatting today.
Yes, awesome. See you next time, Jessica.
Bye.
Bye.